is what's most important.
But
How I wish earlier we could be, because Parliament has taken 3 weeks trying to discuss some of these reforms, and to have failed at Parliament, to have had a win-win situation and a consensus was unfortunate. So I'm happy it took today, possibly because it was a day of a national prayer breakfast where people are in the mood of give and take, that we came up with that. Because you can imagine members, not only in NRM, including opposition, who are just trying to sort out who is a flag bearer.
Before we delve into that issue, Honorable Mkitani, let us address ourselves to this very specific issue of the Registrations of Persons Act. It is an act that is not new. It came way back in 2005, in 2015. But to see Parliament getting in such a quagmire that they are in today, that you still have members of Parliament who, I would say, for being polite, were arguing out of context that they did not know that they were supposed to swear an affidavit to use their pet names, either nicknames or spouses' names. Since 2005, to date, that somebody
That's
is,
not entirely true.
Arguing that he didn't know.
There are even MPs who have been in Parliament 3 terms swearing affidavits. That has been done. I think there are 2 issues. There has been a lot of court ruling. There has been a lot of litigation in Parliament after elections, whereby rulings go up to Supreme before they reduce it to the Court of Appeal. And you find that the grounds under which people are losing a lot of time, courts of judicature are having a lot of jam because of what one would call minor cases. If it can be proactively, because the intention, the spirit of this law is to cure what has been going wrong. And if it has been true that every election, there are people are being thrown out because of the order of names, changing names, I think we should take that spirit as correct. Now, what complicates the matter further? When do we get this interpretation? It was on Tuesday. And Thursday is a public holiday, Friday is a public holiday. So the problem was, how do you now go and gazette? When you have a weekend and Monday you must. That was a problem, at least as far as members of Parliament is concerned. However, I have listened to some legal gurus who are saying there has been some extreme interpretation of the law, because my understanding is that reorganization of names does not require a deed pool. But if it is change of names, including those of married couples, that's a different matter. There are also people have acquired political names. You find you have a nickname, and people are now using those nicknames also.
It's more popular than your name.
Yes. They were telling me, why don't you put you are senior? They call me senior, others call me director. Director was my title before I became an MP, and they're saying, we want to see you as a director, more than this MP thing. So, if you are going to change names, indeed, you need to have that gazetted. Now, the other complication was the gazette. How long does it take for you, after going to court, when do you have that gazetted? And it was bordering corruption. First of all, risk. People have used the borders to go to Entebbe. That is a risk. But I'm also sure it creates some discretion in a person who is handling a gazette to make sure that by close of tomorrow, Friday, which is a public holiday, at least you've been gazetted to be nominated. I'm sure it takes some lubrication, and that is how corruption has again got back to some institutions of government where services are supposed to be, if a deed pool was supposed to be 350, and there were rumors of coughing 1 million, it's like whoever is driving after the jam at 9, he has to pay something to the police. So it is becoming a new normal also.
Are you trying to tell us here that actually money has been exchanging hands at UPPC?
No, whenever you create a scenario that public goods, services are not rendered the way they expected, and somebody has to push to get it, you are basically fueling corruption. So it's not just because of this. The moment you make it say, we want you to be in the meeting on Monday, Fridays is a public holiday, but we are interpreting the law on Tuesday, you're basically fueling corruption.
But we understand that MPs who were married before the enactment of the law in 2015, they are not supposed to be affected. It's only those who had matrimonial marriages after 2015 that are supposed to do what the law requires. How do you weigh yourself into that dilemma?
You know, we are largely a patriarchal society. Male chauvinists will not take that matter as a very important matter. But for feminists, and more so ladies who believe in gender equity, you would wonder why a man is free to move on when he divorces and a woman cannot move on. So issues of gender equality then come in, because a woman would also want to move on and move with her family name, with her original names. It's also true that some of these ladies are very strong in their constituencies, the husband or the wife. So if you are a lady and you are campaigning as a wife of somebody, and possibly you have parted.
Well, Honorable Mkitale, let us first go in for a short commercial break.
Yes, please.
When we return, we shall start from there.
Watching STV, select for fun.
Abalamuzi babagamba, if the incumbent president frustrates all democratic means to leave power, temusibayo muntu n'omukutwiza. This is why Besigye is released. Museveni ekibi kyalina talina mawulire. Nawandika n'ekitabo kyange, the role of witchcraft in the malicious society, sapule njijjamu.
Noyingire sabo.
Katonda wa bujja. Nze Katonda w'obujja. Bw'oba olaga eri, sapule togitwala. Omusajja omubbi bamujja ewuwe ewaka kabanga lyezi. Ne bamujja ewuwe ewaka yabadde mu ttooyi. Naye tebaamukiriza na tusanitize. Bamutadde butese mu piikaavu mu State House. Naye omukyayina bwe yawulidde nti ono bamukutte yeesize kiwi yayitiddeko yadduse ng'omuddugavu.
We are back from that short commercial break. Well, Honorable Mukitari, you are still trying to make your point. Proceed.
Yeah, you see, we really need, as we celebrate our 50th independence, we need to start making our electoral process, our democratic system more predictable, more clear-cut. I was saying earlier, if reforms are made well in time, and their regulations also brought well in time, it gives Parliament, it gives the Independent Electoral Commission time to prepare, but including candidates. Now, if you're going to see incumbent MPs running up and down because of these late amendments, I've just referred to the other one of the youth leaders who are supposed to benefit from the change of the age limit. Then what happens to those people up country who are not candidates? Because some of us have been nominated 3 times. But you can see there are some changes now affecting us, and that makes it a problem. But as I've earlier said, if the courts are saying there has been a lot of inconvenience in litigations arising out of these issues of order of names, change of names, maiden names, then that was one of the reasons why this amendment is partly influenced by the earlier court rulings, which also
at that point, Honorable, let us also chip in. Honorable Tinkasimile was just joined us right now. Well, Tinkasimile, what we are talking about, the issue of spouses adding names, adopted names of their husbands and so on, which they desire to use. It's not something new. Why is it causing dust at this point in time? Why? Why is it causing dust?
Well, I would not want Ugandans particularly to focus largely about the issue of names. The issue I think we need to focus on is the law that was made.
And the timing.
Yes. The law that was made provides that if you are going to run for an elective office, your name which appears in the register and also on your national identity card should be the name that is going to appear on your on your nomination forms. So when the name appears on your nomination form, it is what is going to appear on the ballot paper, and those will be the names the people are going to tick. Naming has been part of human history. Change of names has been part of human history. Me who believes in the Bible, when God called a man called Abraham, whom I believe is my great-grandfather in faith, his name was called Abram. When he calls him, he changes his name to become Abraham. The mother, the woman, the wife to Abram changes from Sarai to become Sarah. And the story goes on. You find the same system even up to today. You will reach, for instance, we who are in politics, my first term, they know Tinkasimile Barnabas. As we go on, they add the names. I would want to adopt those names the voters are giving me. Or those who view me, who are my fans, are adding me. I would want to add them. But the issue is that the offices we are running are attached to academic qualification. Those academic qualifications, when we are going through the education system, their names we have put on our academic documents. And the nomination requirements would want to see some kind of correspondence. In the event that these things are not corresponding, then there must be a document that cures that problem. A document, there are only two documents. One is statutory declaration, registered by the Register of Documents, who registers companies. Registers companies, the same person who registers births, who registers deaths, who registers documents, all those things is the one who registers them. So you've got to at least swear an affidavit. We call it a statutory declaration, which is registered with that person. Then at the same time, you make what we call a deed poll. A deed poll must be published in one of the prominent newspapers, like a New Vision, like in a Monitor, Red Paper, and others. But in this case, courts prefer the Gazette. And the law provides 14 days from nomination time. But it can, in the event that there is this problem of, they are saying at least it should be before you are nominated. And they have asked particularly members of parliament, including me. My name, when I was sitting for Senior 4, I have Tinkasimire E. Barnabas. E is the name of my father. Because of the provided 24 characters when you are filling forms, my father's name could not fit because I have very long names. I just have had to abbreviate it as E. As E. And as we go on at Makerere, they do not provide, they just wrote the name in full. So now which differs from my O and A level. And even subsequent qualifications which I have acquired, they have written the names they want, deriving them from my other academic documents I have attached when I have been seeking admission to that particular program. Then when it came to my registration for national ID, the name that is appearing is Tinkasimire Barnabas. The name that is appearing also in Electoral Commission is Tinkasimire Barnabas. So now, all these other additions that have been coming in, before the law, indicate that what Electoral Commission has, what my national ID has, is totally a different person carrying those academic qualifications. So to cure that, I had to make a statutory declaration and a deed poll, telling Electoral Commission and entire world that I shall be called Tinkasimire Barnabas in all my official documents. And even those official documents that I am holding, they should only be interested in two names, Tinkasimire Barnabas.
So now, where is the problem? You have already done
No. Other than doing it, I'm not the only one. There are many others. At least me, I am familiar with the process. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. There are those who have even never heard of what we call a deed poll. To a deed poll to do it, and also a statutory declaration to do them, they go through a process. Other than the lawyer preparing it, it has to be commissioned by a commissioner of oaths. Other than the commissioner of oaths commissioning it, you've got to register it. And when you are going to register it, you go through a process of paying some money to the government, which is done through an assessment by URA. Sometimes, for my case, the day I made the payment, the system was off. The internet was off. There was no assessment. I spent the whole day with my commissioned documents. I couldn't get an assessment of how much to pay. So I was not registered. And these things are happening, affecting many members of parliament. MTN, Airtel, and other networks have been off.
So ignorance of the law is no defense. Members of parliament knew that the law existed.
Exactly.
Actually, you don't need to blame any person. Like what I had yesterday in parliament, blaming the Attorney General, you were insincere, you were heartless, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's you MPs to blame.
No, it is not even just MPs to blame. You can look at President Museveni has been a head of state for the last 35 years. It is quite unfortunate that the lawyers have been actually petitioning against him, against his election. They have never taken on him on that particular point. He should have lost the presidency a long time ago. But they have been ignoring that point, and they never take him on that. He himself, on the 6th of this month, just 2 days ago, that's when he appeared in the Gazette, declaring the name called Tiba Haburwa as his name, which was given by the parents, but it is not appearing. I mean, whereas it is appearing somewhere on some of his documents, he does not want to be referred to it. He wants Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to be the ones to be declared. Other names, consequently, Ugandans have given him several times. Several times, Muzeyi, Sabarwanyi, so many names.
Nanyini Sente.
Nanyini Sente, Nanyini Buyiza, General, so many names.
At that point, Honorable Martin, do you think that even when honorable members are given 2 more weeks or one and a half weeks, that time is going to cure the quagmire that they find themselves in?
I think before I answer that question, one, Honorable Tinka Simin and Honorable Muchitari has dealt with the good face. But there is also the other side of the bad face. What I mean is, some people change names not for the good of the nation, but because of selfish interests. Actually, some use papers which are not theirs. But because they want to manipulate, they add their names into the other names. So, I think the spirit of this law is okay. One, there is the issue of timing. Why are you timing now? When in 2016, in Amama Mbaba's case versus Yoweri Museveni, the tenets of a fair and free election was dealt with by the Supreme Court. And actually, the Supreme Court gave the government 3 years to have put in place laws that can guide a free and fair process. And I think if they had done that in time, they would have also dealt with this one, then we'll be okay. But you see now the other day, after we have nominated, then there comes a law to allow someone of 18 years to infinity to contest to be LC3 chairperson or mayor or LC5 chairperson. You can see the timing. Now, what we are dealing with now is, you may think maybe some people, it is intended to close out some people. Because, as Honorable Tinka Simila said, look, you have to go to a lawyer. First and foremost, prepare. Someone is in Kabongo. He or she has names which are different from those on the transcripts. He has to come to Kampala, first and foremost. Tomorrow is a public holiday, Saturday is a weekend, and Sunday. He will come here on Monday, meet a lawyer, then he has to go for commission of oath. Tinka Sim has already told you there are challenges with network. There is also another issue that for you to be nominated as a member of parliament, you have to first go to URA. From URA, you go to bank. From bank, you again go to EC, national here. someone is in Chisoro, you have to first go. You don't take the receipt from the bank to the registrar for you to be nominated. You have to first go to the national EC here in Kampala. You get a general receipt, which you will present in Kabong or in Chisoro or in Kano. And initially, you would pay and take a receipt. As me, when I was being nominated, I went to the district, I paid, I went to bank, I took the receipt, I was nominated. But you can see the process is tiresome. And it needs a lot of money. And now you've just opened for the youth. You say, okay, I have opened for you. But first and foremost, you have to pay 3 million to be nominated. Here you are saying, if my names are different, I again have to incur 300 for a dead poor. As Honorable Muchitare said, you know, our Ugandans now, Chintu Chidogo is like, it's like a normal business.
But now the issue is not the timing. The timing was catered for in the law. This law came into force in 2015. So whoever had names that require to do a deed poll or to swear an affidavit would have immediately embarked on the process.
You see,
after 2016.
You see.
So, one to wait to be caught up now by the Electoral Commission and starts complaining.
Let me give you two
some
examples.
other right-thinking members of the
Let me give you two
society,
examples.
they may also say that also you are not fair to the Electoral Commission.
No, you see, Honorable Tinkasina has already told you. General Yoweri Museveni, the president of this land, has been a president for the last 34 years. But just yesterday, but one, is when he has changed the what? The names. That clearly shows that even the framers of the Constitution, they did it in good faith. The spirit was, it's okay, you can change the name, you can marry a wife, she can be able to use your name as a married woman to you, you can use your father's name, you can swear an affidavit, as simple as that. And these people have been in parliament. Look at Cecilia Ogwa, look at Honorable Angelina Osegi. They have been here. But you would go and get nominated. And actually, even the case they were using of Taban Amin, he was nominated. Someone took him to court, but he was nominated. But today they are saying you cannot get nominated before your names are online.
So, Honorable Mugitare, are you convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the breathing space that they have given you is enough time for you to sort out those issues?
You see, for me, you know, principally, I am for national dialogue, and I thought that our first business of 10th Parliament was supposed to do not only the electoral laws. You look at the whole constitution, you look at consensus on some of these issues well in time. You know, these issues of doing things last minute, no wonder it affects our agenda setting. An election time, what should be the expectation of citizens? To see the aspirations of citizens, issues at hand, emerging issues. We are now dealing with the economy in foreign hands. We are dealing with the post-COVID stimulus. As long as you get diverted into these small things, you are going to have an election without discussing what should have been the major preoccupation, the issues at hand. And for me, that pains me. That pains me because we are now more discussing form and we have lost the substance. I don't want to say it is deliberate, but how I wish that going forward next time, we should not indulge in this kind of issues because it is at a cost. The intention of an election is supposed to bring the best policy. 2020 was a year we expected middle income. Is a year we expected first oil. Is a year we expected transformation. But it became a year of locusts. It became a year of floods. Right now, for me, what people expect to hear from me in Bulisa and some of his area on Lake Albert is that government is having a solution for those who are flooded. You know, but to see in the very week where they expect my energy to be in the direction of taking them some solution, I am now in this postponement of elections and I don't know what. People don't even, he's a lawyer, but my people don't want to know what's a DD pool. So people want to see an election which brings debate on something on their table. Government is opening schools tomorrow and parents do not have school fees. UNEB is expecting to pay. That debate has disappeared. And I want to appeal to you media. Really avoid diversionary issues.
So are you trying to say that government strategies are trying to push
I am
us
not
off?
saying, I am saying
from the issue,
we
from the
players
real issues?
are all gullible.
He's being sincere.
Can I tell you I'm an educationist? Do you know government schools alone are not ready to open? Do you know for us private owners, if you have a tenant, he has no money to pay you? Have you checked in the real estate business how much schools are changing hands? Those who were managers of schools have since lost to the owners of the premises. Now, if we can't discuss such hot issues in this few remaining 3 months of campaign.
What we are discussing, Honorable Mukitale, borders on the livelihood of some MP.
For me in Bulisa,
MPs
I have
3,000. About
3,000.
like
I have
5,000 families that depend on them.
3,000 families which are in submergence, have flooded. And their homes
before we
and
get into that,
flooded.
I'll give you time to talk about that. Well, Honorable Tinkasimile, if you didn't use your father's name, what would you lose?
No, I mean...
or if you don't use your husband's name and you
and can I also agree with
you
him?
use
I am
your original name, what do you lose?
My father registered me for P7 in my absence as Stephen B. Mukitale.
Yeah.
Mukitale is his name. But my children want me to be called a Virawa because they are not a Mukitale, they are a Virawa. And when you are at university, there is a form they give you to open your names. Yes. It happens. So some of these things are at school time. The one for ladies is at marriage. But as I said earlier, people have this name in the press, you say alias. Akandwa now, alias Salim Saleh.
Also know that.
Now,
but if
the issue is
if you stick on your original names, what do you lose?
No, you are going to say you lose nothing, but the issue is to continue with that connectivity.
And
In
in
the African setting, we want to be known, we call names like of our clan members, such that when they hear Lubram, they should be able to know Nedirachi. What
identity?
I belong to which clan? I belong to which clan? So if your parents gave you maybe sometimes naming ceremonies are named by parents, kojas, friends. For me, my name is a direct name of a friend of my father. They were very, very close in the Second World War. My father invites him to come and visit him in Kabale. He's from Kabarole, walks all the way from Kabarole to Kabale. And when that man reaches, finds my mother has spent 24 hours in labor. That friend of my father says, no, this woman must be taken to the hospital. By then, there was no ambulance. They had to carry my mother to the health center. And in the health center is where I'm delivered. Out of excitement of a huge boy who was born, I was born when I was 5.3 kilograms. Barely my mother would not produce milk, she was at home. At least I'm glad that I was taken to the health center and my mother was helped by a trained medical doctor to produce me. Out of excitement, my father gives me the name of this man called Tinkasimile. He was his friend. That's where my name is coming from. But of course, I am carrying this name, but I want a connection to my father. And I put it there. When I put it there, as we go on, because for me, other than studying A-level and O level and A level, I go to Makerere University. Makerere University, they open up my name. I apply for masters. I attain my masters. They choose the way they write the names. Sometimes they begin with the Barnabas, Erkan, Tinka Simile, which is not how my names are supposed to be written. Then I apply to be admitted to the School of Law. I am admitted. I'm given academic documents. They write them differently. The postgraduate diploma in legal practice, they write them differently. So for me to harmonize all that just requires a simple thing which is provided for in the law of statutory declaration and a deed poll.
And that's reorganizing.
Yes.
Not change of names.
A deed poll. And that's it. For women, yes, you are entering a new family. It's acceptable, very acceptable for identity, for you to move freely. I mean, it's acceptable. No. And what we were saying is the law has been in place. Both those who are supposed to enforce it have not been enforcing it. The courts of law, the government, it's the electoral commission, they have just woken up, starting to refuse to nominate people with names who do not appear in their voters register.
That's why we are asking.
Or the national.
But Honorable Mukitale and Honorable Tinkasime, you were in the 11th, in the 9th Parliament. It's you guys who enacted this law. You knew what it requires. So at this point, even you to be involved in a boxer war that is playing out, but and trying to behave like as if you didn't know what you enacted required. It's unfair.
Timothy, we knew all what was going on. The only thing is that those who have been enforcing it, if you don't ask me something, why should I bother? Because I have told you it is a rigorous process. One, it requires me to draft a statutory declaration. That requires me to pay a lawyer.
But you have already done it.
I have done it. The second one requires a commission of oaths. The commission of oaths wants money. The third one, you have to take that document for assessment to pay tax for it to be registered. Assessment, URA. That time you have to go to the bank, get the assessment. If it is not there, you have to wait for the day when you get it. You get an assessment, go to the bank, pay, and go with the payment receipt to register of documents. You register the documents. You register the documents. You see, it is some kind of a process.
Honorable Mugitari, why do you have to wait to be pushed?
In the last election,
why do you have to wait to be pushed?
In the last election, nominations were done. People were not deterred.
Yes.
In this election, people are being deterred.
Yes.
That's the difference.
The problem is.
Yes, they are saying if you are carrying a name,
that's the difference.
If you fill the nomination form that is having a name that is not appearing on your national ID, that is not appearing in the voters register, deferring from your academic documents, because now that is going to cost it's going to cost electoral commission which nominated you, because they are going to take you and the electoral commission which nominated to court for nominating a wrong candidate. Because those academic documents which have differing names
are not yours
legally before the law. They are not yours.
And if you wanted my cure, it is not in this statutory document of just changing names. It should be in what we call a national register. What we are missing in this country, the national identity card, that NIN, is just part of the process of the national register. The national register starts from date of birth. As you go, you graduate to be of age, to get a driving permit, to be a voter, and death. Now, if the national register is correct, when you get married, you add on the name of your husband. When you get your children, they get your name. So what we need to invest, I wish the energy we are putting in this instrument was put in improving the national ID registration process, because our national ID process is incomplete. That's why you can see people still operate businesses with different names. We have just finished NRM elections without using the national ID. So the national ID should be primary all other names must be derived from a national register.
This one is an
That's when you deal with fraud. You deal with fraud in banks. What we are dealing with, we're not dealing with fraud in the bank. But if you had cleaned the national register in form of a name and the names you must have, the moment they go to your national ID, all the names will come. Because the intention of that biodata and those other IDs, you know, they're about other instruments which are within that ID. They will know your father, they will know your mother, they will know your ancestry, they will know your crime history, they know your bank issues, they will know your driving permit, when did you commit a traffic offense. So we have lost a lot of money in the national ID, but we are not using it like other countries use it, because what we should be doing, all what we are looking for, in that, even the EC, not only the political party voters register, the electoral commission voters register should be derived from, if we are going to get value for money, and what statisticians do world over, it is the national ID which is primary. All these other things called tax identification, called voters register, driving permit, passport, is secondary. What is primary is a national. So let's put this energy.
What I think matter should not be causing.
Timothy, for emphasis. Timothy, for emphasis. What we are trying to do is just a technicality. This technicality,
but which has
is
many
created,
people lose their seats.
Is created in the law to cure to cure those small things. And for me, I don't see much of it. What we need to emphasize, why we have extended, why we requested, we debated the extension of nomination dates, was to help members of parliament or candidates who would tomorrow have issues not to fall into this trap. Two,
and that's what Byabakama is trying
largely
to cure.
women.
It's what Byabakama is trying to cure.
Yes, I am not complaining about Byabakama. What we asked the government was that since we want to comply now with the law, can you allow us some more time and we solve the problem?
We are personalizing.
Yes. And the time has given is very little time. 3 days. 3 days. 3 days is not much. But nevertheless, the 3 days are going to help in solving a big crisis. Electoral Commission will reduce on the number of litigation of those technicalities. I heard my very good friend from FDC saying some people would use it, are going to use it for a negative, to hide the source of their academic.
No, they have been using it.
They have been using it.
Of course, now, you having to declare a name. For instance, I have one of the persons whom I have seen in the Gazette, who last time they litigated about her candidature or her stay in the parliament on academic qualification. This the woman named P. Forwengo. She has declared 3 names: Sise, Namoju, Donoziu. Yes. The purpose why you have to appear in the Gazette is to allow the public to find out actually, are these your exact names, or you are trying to hide something. So now it is the time for the public to raise up and say, this man or this woman who has declared this name is not for the husband, is for a academic document of a dead person. Is an academic, is the name of an academic document of his brother, of his friend.
How many read Gazette?
But how many read Gazette?
That's the intention of the Gazette, by the way.
Of course.
That's
the issue is how many people read the Gazette.
Yes, how many?
It is us, the elites, particularly the lawyers, who are interested in the Gazette.
Yes.
But the ordinary person, even these ones you find on the street, how many times have you ever seen a Gazette being sold on the street?
Who can buy
No
it anyway?
Okay.
No one. There is no news in it. What is there are those those the laws which have been made, the notices like this one of a deed poll. Now the public has to be vigilant to start looking for those things, and the media help the public. Help the public also now to get
we are already
interest.
helping it, but we also want you have already helped yourself to help the other MPs who are still taking it as a matter of joke.
No, people are taking it seriously, but I want to emphasize, because he brought out a very good issue. There are some people who will use now that opportunity,
Bad intentions.
bad intention, to now hide there, because for him it is just an issue of chewing that technicality, and they claim this is my academic paper. Kumbe, actually the academic paper is not his.
Someone
or
who
us.
died long time ago.
So he will use that declaration.
Why should you have ghost voters in the EC or any party when you are having national IDs?
But if we had gone ahead, for me, given the nature of the process, which I have gone through, I'm familiar with the process. I took a shorter time. But those ones who are not familiar, it would take them a longer time. Two, there are those ones who have not attempted, particularly women. And these are very many candidates. Very many candidates. We would exclude them. The extension is going to help. If it does not, those ones whom extension will catch outside, then...
It is going to help those in parliament, because for them, most of them...
but we are discussing these things here.
Well,
those ones who are viewing, are they only the ones from parliament?
Well, we do understand the spirit under which national IDs were brought into force was to cure the issue of ghosts, fraud, having a free and fair election. But of course, we all know the reason as to why. This very electoral commission at the very beginning of the electoral roadmap came out to say that we are not going to use national identity card just because Bobby Wine had already started telling people to go and register using their national IDs. And government strategists saw a lacuna, saw danger coming from that direction. So, and Parliament, you have kept quiet about that. Billions of shillings were spent into this project to cure what we are now complaining about.
My understanding of that is that two issues. The Electoral Commission chairman and his team are aware of an incomplete process of a national ID. I don't know if all your staff members here have national IDs. And those who lost it, how difficult is it to get? We have members of parliament who have failed to replace their national IDs. So the Electoral Commission, if I still remember, they are saying in absence of a complete process of a national ID, they would rather insist on you individually registering at your place of domicile and where you're resident and you intend to vote. And also, it is there again they say, in an event you are not known in the location you intend to vote, then they also refer to a national ID as an identification. So for me, the point I'm making, Ali, and I would want to insist, those of us who, by God's grace, will be in the next parliament, and other arms of government, can we complete the process of the national ID, which is called the national register? When a child is born, enters that register. When a child is, when somebody dies, you exit. So at the end of the day, the country has a whole biodata of who is who. And when you get married, it's updated from sub-counties. And even if I am from Kagadi and I marry in Mbale, they register, because if the system is really working, because the other problem also we had, we got an inferior technology. We don't get the right technology. And that's why there has been an attempt to adapt. So let's not cover up the mistakes of a national ID project.
We totally
and
agree.
we deal with it.
Totally agree with
then
you.
All these quarrels of primaries, the energy you are spending on this wouldn't be expended.
The big question is,
if with the national register,
is the political will there? Because when somebody starts advancing arguments of saying that somebody lost his national ID, it may be a technicality. I do not see it as a technicality. in the database, all my information is there. Even though I lost my national ID, when I get there, the biometric machine, the moment I enter my fingerprint onto the biometric machine, it should be in position to display
4 years ago,
all my details.
Children of O level, S4 and S5 and S6, who actually an exercise took place for over a week, they have not got their national IDs, and yet they are voting age.
Well, let us go into just a brief issue to do with the FDC. We are left with very few minutes. Yesterday, we do understand you are supposed to have a presidential debate. From nowhere, it didn't take off. No explanation has been given. Today, we only hear that one of the presidential aspirants has stepped out for...
There is a merger.
Has stepped out for Patrick Amria. What does that speak about the internal democracy within your party?
First and foremost,
these jokers?
Why do you call them jokers?
They are.
You know, I am a candidate. If in my wisdom, I decide to step down for Tinkasimere, you can't call me a joker. It was from his wisdom. Ambassador Lirugwa stepped down for Amuriat. For us, we went there to vote for a presidential flag bearer of the FDC. So for him, when he was given time to speak to the delegates, he opted to step down. So he can ably explain why. But for me, as a voter, as a delegate, I went there to vote. And what the outcome was, I wanted a flag bearer for my party. And I came out with a flag bearer, who is Honorable Engineer Patrick Oboy. So even if we voted, we would have got one candidate. So actually he helped us. He simplified things for us. And you know also, an election is not an event. It's a process. I think you should be interested of the process, first and foremost. Did you have a fair ground for the candidates? The answer is yes. Did you know the voters at the FDC? Yes, we knew. Actually, we were supposed to have a national delegates conference. But because of the pandemic we've been in, we couldn't manage to collect 1,500 people in one place. We decided to use another organ, which is a national council, which is comprised of NEC members, MPs of FDC, and district chairpersons of FDC structure throughout the country. So they were stepping in for the national delegates conference. So in our constitution, and even that a national delegates conference cannot sit, then the national council can make decisions that bound the national delegates conference.
What happened to the presidential debate?
I cannot ever answer that because I'm not the spokesperson of the party.
You
But what
sit
I
in
can,
the central executive committee of the party. You should be in position to speak out this, to give us what went wrong.
It was yesterday. Okay? So you can't imagine that in one day we have had a national committee meeting to know what exactly happened. But of course, you know, we are in opposition.
You are also filing ignorance like...
No.
Yeah,
I saw you.
But is Timothy.
No.
Timothy, why should you demand? Why should you demand for a debate when one candidate? There were two candidates. One candidate has withdrawn. Why do you want a debate? A debate with who?
The withdrew was today. The withdrew was today.
A debate with
No,
who?
even before we go to that, you know we are in opposition. Most often, we've bought airtime on TVs and we've fed the future on TVs. We have even won a case. You remember? Dr. Vesje paid money for UBC. He did not feature. That was in 2006. He has just won the case. So you never know whether the owners of the TV where we're supposed to feature, you may not know what happened.
My comment analysis
Yes.
would be
All right.
that the FDC has just suffered a creation of ANT arising out of a very bad contest between Muntu and Besigye. And I think they were trying to be wiser to avoid a repeat of a very hotly contested Muntu Besigye contest, and the two sides have now given birth to another party. And I think that's why when I saw in the press Engineer Muriat with the ambassador having dinner together when they were canvassing for votes in
What's wrong with
the
that?
rural area. So that clearly, if it ends up with one not standing,
Honorable Mushtari, if I
at
can
a
put
time
you
when
back.
FDC has lost so many important senior people, I think it was wise. for
Honorable
them.
Mushtari, if
As an
you-
analyst,
if you recall,
I'm not.
if you recall, we used to have joint campaigns in this country, remember? And it was nice. Honorable Tinka Simile would feature with Honorable Mushtari, eh?
no
And they
more.
will canvass the votes
It's no more.
with no problem. So for us, we opted for, first and foremost, it's cheap. Actually, at some point,
Okay.
they used one vehicle.
Well, we are left
You
with
remember-
we are left with very few minutes. Let me just give
Just 1 point. Just 1 point. You remember?
30 seconds.
The government is supposed to give political parties money to prepare for to have their activities move on. We have spent almost the whole year without getting that money.
Well,
So we have suffered.
you have
because-
made your point.
Yes.
In 30 seconds, make your last parting statement on the show.
Yeah, for me, I hope that this election will raise issues of concern. As I've said earlier, my Unyoro community, for us who are from the lakeside, right from Ndaiga up to Wanseko, we are flooding and would want to see how in this season of campaign we don't lose the real issues of the people and we get carried away with the currents in Kampala. We look forward to any assistance because we've been waiting from OPM. I think on Tuesday I'm going to appeal for Red Cross, international community, possibly to come to our rescue because the problem is
But being taken
yes,
over by waters
it's
of Lake
quite a
Alban.
big problem.
Well, Honorable Barnabas, your last parting shot on the show.
I will use this opportunity to still demand from the National Electoral Commission that yes, you have nominated candidates for lower local governments, districts. You are now going to national level for members of parliament and presidential. Please declare the dates when we are going to the polls. This thing of behaving like a witch doctor. A witch doctor is the one who is, in most cases, very unpredictable. Yesterday, when I was making my point on the floor of the House, I said that when we were in the seminary, we were taught how you can identify evil. One of the ways, evil, the acts of a person who does not want to be open, you start sensing evil. You have stated we are going to be nominated 15th and 16th. When are we going to the polls? President is 2nd and 3rd November. When are we polling for the president? We already the councillors have been nominated. Chairman LC series have been nominated. LC 5s have been nominated. When specify gazette the date when these people are going to the polls. This thing of working like a witch doctor, please, you are in office to serve Ugandans. We don't want you to serve Ugandans evil.
Well, thanks, Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimere. To the viewers, this now brings us to the end of the show. Wish you a very good night.
If this was just being wise,